this is like one of the most confusing parts of being a projector. And I dive deep into this, as you know, in Projector Power Paradigm, but where, people think that they need to hold off on their business. And within business, within our passions, since we are like the lights, like think of like the lighthouse, we are here to like actually be speaking our word and speaking our passion. Because we need to be, before we're invited, we have to be recognized for what we're doing. So if we don't actually share our business, if we don't share our thoughts, if we don't share what our passion is, then nobody can invite us in. And then it's like this catch 22 where like nothing's happening because nothing's happening. So we actually in business need to go out there and do our thing, say our thing. We just like don't like hardcore, like I'm not going to just message you and be like, do you want to be my client? Like I have this amazing program. I think you'd be perfect for it. I would wait for you. I'm going to talk about my Projector Power Paradigm and I'm going to wait for you to come to me and be like, hey, Amy, like I'm really interested in joining. Can you tell me more? Or like, let's do it.
I'm Autumn Bensett, founder of the Bossy Babe brand, fitness coach, and serial entrepreneur turned intuitive life and business coach. The Wealthy Babe podcast is for the ambitious, courageous, and spiritually charged up woman in network marketing, craving wealth not only in her bank account, but in every aspect of her life. Get plugged in here each week for authentic and unfiltered conversations from myself and industry leaders who are going to support you and give you all the juicy behind the scenes and real talk around business, spirituality, strong points of view, and doing shit differently. This is a safe space to come undone, be heard, and be given permission to rewrite your own damn rules. So here we go. So hello, my loves. I am so excited that you're here and listening to this episode today. I have human design expert, mermaid mama, and projector queen, Amy Allchurch here to chat today. And I am so excited about our conversation. We are both projectors, so this is going to be an epic conversation, especially if you're a projector. I think it'll be super powerful for you. Thank you so much for being here, Amy.
Oh, Autumn, I'm so excited. I was just saying to Autumn, you guys, that she's been such a huge expander for me in the world of business and mamahood. So I am just like so excited to be doing this episode with you.
I'm so grateful you're here. And I was just like, I'm going to cry because that was just bringing Louise almost a year. And so just having that full circle moment and seeing how you've brought, baby Hendrix into the world, and you have 2 other thriving, beautiful babies and this thriving family and business that continues to grow and this brand that continues to thrive. And you're an expander for me. It's beautiful to see what you've created and to see how you continue to do this as a projector, growing a family and I'm sure that there are moments behind the scenes that aren't effortless. I'm sure that there are moments behind the scene that are difficult and trying and that require a lot of courage or patience or grace. But on the outside, and I mean this in the best way possible, is it looks effortless. Like it looks beautiful. It looks natural. It looks like just a pure extension of who you're being. And I think that's one of the most important things nowadays in coaching and in entrepreneurship is that true authenticity, authenticness, of really embodying what it is that you're saying that you're doing. And so, I mean, I can feel I've been in Projector Paradigm, Power Paradigm with you, and it was an epic and beautiful course. I know you're coming to run it again. So again, I'm going off on a tangent, but thank you for being here. I'm just, you're equally as much as an expander for me, especially as you continue to grow your family, because me and Derek are totally like, I don't know if it's just one, like we think 3 in the long run, but we'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever. Hendrix was a bit of a surprise, but like literally the best ever. And thank you for bringing that up too, because I do like want to share that like it is effortless. And I do literally work from integrity of ease. Like last week I postponed 2 podcasts because my kids were sick. So literally being a mom is like my number one thing. And then the business comes intertwined into working into my life. And I think that's like where a lot of people do the opposite. They try to adjust their life around their business. And then that's when it gets messy. That's when it gets, overwhelming. And that's when it gets stressful. There, of course, are definitely those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, but that's why I have so much support, like in business, working with Melanie. And it's just like, I need other people in order to like quickly work through those things, because I literally have no time to like sit in my own wallowing or stress, So that's the biggest help I would say, is like, as a projector, to get support and to ensure that your business is working, your business is working for you, right? You not working for your business. That is literally key in a thriving business and family life.
I want to dive so much more into this. So thank you for sharing that, because there's probably going to be so much more that we can talk about in that respect, especially as moms, projectors, business owners, all of the things. I'm curious if we can take a super quick pause and get to know a little bit more about you. Like who is Amy? I want to know who Amy is.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Actually, I've been a teacher for 9 years, and a lot of people don't know that about me, because I kind of built my business around being a teacher also. And then when I got pregnant with Hendrix, I really decided, I need to ensure that my health is in the best form possible to bring this third baby into the world, and really live my projector energy and ensure that I'm healthiest. And that was kind of the stepping stone of me expanding my business the biggest. But yeah, I don't know. That's like such a hard question. I don't know. I love just being like, I've always like been like an introvert, right? Like I've always really like felt like I'm an introvert. So I've always just loved like hanging out and like ordering food in our house and like watching a movie on a Friday night and like having like my close little like group of friends and not really needing anymore. And yeah, I love exercising. I love sushi. I love just like it growing and expanding myself in so many different levels all the time. And I think when I had my first daughter, Layla, that was like the biggest, like, oh my gosh, like I know that I'm meant to be doing more and I want to do more. I actually started my entrepreneurship in running boot camps, fitness boot camps.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we're so similar. Me and Derek used to run fitness boot camp. We had a whole fitness business called Hardcore, Heart and Hustle. Like we were like masculine energy, get down.
Yes, I've always been very much in that masculine energy too. I have 2 older brothers, so I grew up like loving sports and being just very competitive. And yeah, and then from there, so I was still teaching, doing all the things. I fell into network marketing. I think you did too. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I just fell into my lap because I was having a whole bunch of health issues, and literally like I still use all of the products. And that was really like my first like diving deep into mindset work, and the company offered a lot of mindset stuff, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I loved it. But then I was like, this is not the way I want to run business. You know what I mean? Because it's like, do this and reach out to people. And I always felt so awkward and uncomfortable. And I was always like, I'm just an introvert. Like, it's not me. But now I'm like, no, I'm a projector and I'm literally not meant to do that. My energy is repelling. And then, yeah, so then we had our second daughter, Lucy, and we actually moved, and it was a big transition time. And then I kind of was supply teaching and just felt like this really like amount of freedom. And I was like, wow, this feels really good. Not having like so much structure, and so much like I'm just like, that's normal, it's normal. It was like, it's normal to kind of have a little bit of flexibility, and it felt really good. And then from there we had, I worked for a while, and then, Hendrix came into our lives, and I started my business. I hired actually Alex Crothers while I was on mat leave. This is like, we're going way off on tangents.
No, I love it. Bring it on. Yes.
Alex Crothers, and she was my life coach when I was on mat leave with Lucy. I was like, I really need to like, I just feel such a calling to like explore myself more and like, what do I really want? What are my desires? And she was like so incredible and so amazing. And like, I didn't even know what I was getting into. And we like went into like all these places. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, this is crazy. Yes. And then I knew I wanted to start a business. I hired business coaches. And then I was like, these need to be blended, you know, having life business coaches together, because it is all mindset. Like business entrepreneurship is all energy, is all mindset. Like there's no other way around it. So then I started just kind of doing like business life coaching, and then it just has continued to evolve from there. So it was very spiritual, energy based, intuitive. And then human design came into my life, and I was like, this is life-changing. I literally just kept it like kind of like a weird secret, where obviously I was just like practicing it myself. And then once I really started like getting into the groove of what it meant to be a projector and how to live my life like that, then I started integrating it into my family. Ben's a projector, and all three of my kids actually are manifesting generators. So kind of navigating that energy and really just like conscious parenting from the perspective of human design. And then I really incorporated it into my private clients who didn't know that I just was making tweaks with the way that I was coaching to kind of experiment with it. And they took off in the most phenomenal ways. And I was like, done deal. Like, this is coming public. Let's go. And it's been history.
That is so fascinating. I was going to ask, like, how did you get into human design? Was it somebody did you just see it kind of being used, and find like interest in it? Or, because I feel like it came out of nowhere, but I know it's been around for so long.
Yeah. It actually, I was literally listening to some random podcast. Like, I don't even know what I was listening to. Like, it wasn't even like a favorite. It universally came into my world.
I love that.
And then I was like, this is incredible. And it was Jenna Zoe. I know she was the one that was talking about it, who is incredible. And I was like, I need to explore this more. And then I started self-studying. I did take a course. So I'm certified in human design and business. But yeah, literally, I was just like, this just literally fell into my phone. I don't know how.
I love how divine intervention and divine guidance always happens in those ways. Like, it'll still never make sense to me, but when everything started transitioning over for me a couple years ago, and I started having these revelations of like, there is something more. I was leaving my network marketing company, the fitness world kind of behind, and transitioning over. And I was just getting like, I was into the personal development world, but spiritually I was still very disconnected, and I was starting to find my way back there. And I remember I was at Chapters the one day, and I had never really seen Carrie Green or anything like that. And then one of her books just literally fell out of the shelf. Like, no one's around. There's no reason why a book would just fall off the shelf and onto the floor, but it was She Means Business. And it's just those moments like that. There are these small, weird, crazy, divine, defining moments that they don't make any sense. But if it wouldn't have happened, like, we can't even imagine where like things would be right now. So I
literally just got full body chills. Like, yeah, that's literally when we trust, when we're open and we're not forcing and we're not making things happen or trying to put the puzzle together ourselves, it just gets put together. Like, it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. So for the person that's like, okay, this is my moment where I'm listening to this for the first time and I don't know what human design is, how could you kind of describe it for them?
So it's basically, it is our energetic DNA. So it's our blueprint in our bodies within our energy that your soul has. So your soul is here for a purpose. It has been placed in your body, and you are here to just live out your soul's purpose. So there's specific ways that your soul and your energy wants to be working in this world and is meant to be working. And it's up to you to understand it. It's basically the instructions we have for our body and for the way that we live our life coming from our energy. And when we follow those instructions, when we follow the directions, things feel like ease, right? And they feel like flow, because we're not banging into all of that resistance that we bang into when things are not correct for us. And it's really guiding us to be living in the most authentic, correct way humanly possible, so that you can be accomplishing what your soul is here to do. And it's just like going on that journey. So within your body, there's these different energy centers, and some of them would be defined and some would be undefined. And you're going to want to work out of those in very different ways. I think we'll go into that a little bit later. And the biggest thing is like your energy type. So understanding what energy type you are will help you really start to integrate the way that you're living. And it will just be like all of those aha moments for you where like, it finally makes sense.
This is so helpful. Thank you for sharing this. I can't wait to dive into this, and maybe it'll probably be easiest if we even just kind of share with mine and we go through mine maybe. And then that way it'll probably be a lot more, clear for other people to see themselves in that, and maybe they can navigate it. Because one of the hardest things really is like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this and there's information and I want to know more, but it's that this is the power of working with you, or it's the power of working with somebody who has some background in this, because there is a lot to decipher and to figure out. So hopefully this will like kind of create some clarity.
Yeah, you guys, it's literally a different language. Like human design is a different language. So you really need somebody to connect the dots, because, and it also is very like heavy. So when I was first self-studying, and even the courses I was taking, I was like, wow, how do I bring this and like make it into like our language, of somebody that I would talk to as a friend that could understand this. So there's so much information out there, and it's just really, it can get twisted really easily. So it's really important to just like, again, work with somebody that has a lot of understanding and really brings it with full integrity, because it is a different language if you don't know what you're doing.
I want to talk about that too a little bit, because I know that I've even been in certain situations with clients, and then they'll say, well, this is what, my design says. And I'm like, maybe it was from working with you, or it's from in certain containers or things that I've read from other experts. And I'm like, I don't know if that's 100% what that means. And those things could and again, I'm not the expert, but just from say in a session with you about a projector, there can be things that can definitely probably be just twisted even the smallest way. And if applied, could be detrimental to their success. I'm like tripping over my words, but I'm sure that you've seen that at some point. So we'll talk about that. But
yes, that's huge.
I'm a projector. You guys know that. We've talked about that. So not to compare by any means, to each single one, but I'm curious if you could speak to what is like the projector power? Like what does the projector power look like in comparison to like the other different designs, and like what that looks like?
Okay. So yeah, we're both projectors, and projectors, we basically, our power is to see deeply into the other. So a lot of projectors are like, yeah, I'm intuitive, or, I'm an empath, all of those things, spiritual. Not to say others aren't, but like we really deeply feel that, because our aura is actually penetrating the other being. So we can see someone and we know what's going on with them. We know, there's something off. There's something like heavy about them. We just absorb their energy. And we're here to actually guide other people. So we're like the lights. We're the people that are meant to lead, teach, and coach people. And again, not to say that others can't, but that is what our energy type is here to be doing. So yeah, our people are drawn into us because we're projecting outward, and we're like seeing deeply into them. And then they make that deep connection. Some people don't want it, right? And they're like, no, don't look too deeply into me. I don't want you to see all my secrets, but we can. And that's like our superpower. We also know a lot. Like we just, again, intuitively know. So what our crutch can kind of be is like, we just tell people things that they're not ready or open or willing to hear, which can get us into a lot of trouble, right? But when we accept the invitation, which is what we're meant to be doing in our type, is waiting for an invitation. So if you were like, tell me more about my design, or what do you think I should do in my business based on my design, then I can tell you. But I'm not just going to like put it on blast and be like, I know you should make this tweak and do this and do this and do that. Because then you could be like, I didn't ask you for that. No, thanks.
Got you. Yeah, that makes total sense. And there's so many times in my life where I can feel that, and I know that, and I can like pinpoint out the times where maybe I've, because you see it, right? You see it and you feel it. And even in moments with like Derek, for example, or I'm like, what's going on? Like there's something. He's like, no, I'm like, there's something, like I can see it. But it's true, right? Like there are definitely moments where as soon as I learn that, like I need to be invited in to share. That saved me worlds of problems and helped me navigate so many things, right? In business too. How would that be something, I'm curious with that question, like how do you navigate that in business? I guess it's coaching that is the power, right? It's creating the space for the questions, opening up space for other people to be heard and then being invited in. I guess not necessarily in coaching techniques, but in business, in sales, how have you seen that play a part in like waiting for the invitation and allowing that? Because I know that that can be a conflicting thing. People as projectors are like, well, then I'm just going to sit here and wait for people to come to me.
Yeah, this is like one of the most confusing parts of being a projector. And this is, I dive deep into this, as you know, in Projector Power Paradigm, but where, people think that they need to hold off on their business. And within business, within our passions, since we are like the lights, like think of like the lighthouse, we are here to like actually be speaking our word and speaking our passion. Because we need to be, before we're invited, we have to be recognized for what we're doing. So if we don't actually share our business, if we don't share our thoughts, if we don't share what our passion is, then nobody can invite us in. And then it's like this catch 22 where like nothing's happening because nothing's happening. So we actually in business need to go out there and do our thing, say our thing. We just like don't like hardcore, like I'm not going to just message you and be like, do you want to be my client? Like I have this amazing program. I think you'd be perfect for it. I would wait for you. I'm going to talk about my Projector Power Paradigm and I'm going to wait for you to come to me and be like, hey, Amy, like I'm really interested in joining. Can you tell me more? Or like, let's do it.
Got you. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So cold reaches, that's why network marketing and projectors don't love each other.
It makes so much sense too, right? It makes so much sense when you look back. I mean, oh gosh, I had like a gross funnel. Like,
oh, I know. And that's like, you look back and you cringe, but it's like, that was like, even that time, it was like the hustle mode. Like everyone was so like pumped up. Let's hustle. Let's do this. And as projectors, we're not meant to hustle. We don't have this endless energy. So we actually are only meant to work like 4 hours a day. And then the rest of the time, we're literally to be like playful and rest and self-care and like take care of our energy because we expel so much in guiding other people.
So with that being said, because that's one of the most like potent parts of being a projector is, and things that's actually been talked about is the energy, like the lack of energy that we have in comparison to the other designs, as well as what it looks like to show up in a day, like how to manage that energy, like the play and I don't want to say limited time working, but the 4-ish hours spent in your business. So I'm curious, and probably because you're a projector, it's going to be the best way to explain it. How do you set up your day? How do you set up your life? How do you honor this in your business and still allow yourself to make more? Because I think this is one of the things, like projectors look at this and they're like, this makes so much fucking sense. Hell yes. But I have all these moving pieces now and I'm a mom, maybe too. Like, what do I do? How do I allow myself to have all of this? Yeah.
Well, and like, this is the biggest thing about human design too. And your business, again, making it work for you, not you working for it. So, as a projector, we have like 4 to 6 hours to be working. And during those 4 to 6 hours, we are highly efficient, but this is part of your practice because we can waste time. Obviously we could take that 4 hours and spend 3 of it on Instagram or just like whatever. So we actually do have to kind of ground ourselves to be like, okay, these are my hours and I need to be highly efficient and effective during this time because that's all I have. And that's what my energy store is. So for me, obviously with 3 kids, like they kind of forced me to be a projector because I literally don't have the time, right? I don't have 8 hours in a day just to focus on my business. So it's really about navigating. And when I first started my business, I did everything at night within 2 hours. So I would do my coaching calls or my masterminds or whatever, and that would be my free time to do it. And then it just kind of built from there. And now it's really like I definitely don't do 4 hours in a row. So to fit my lifestyle, I do like today we have this 1 hour call. And then tonight after my kids go to bed, I have a 1 hour one-to-one session with a client. And then when I design, my courses and my masterminds and stuff, it'll be just plugged in like 1 or 2 hours maximum every couple days. And that's where I'm at right now in kind of handling it all. And then things like content creation, like for posting and stuff, I like to do when I have energetic space. So again, like at nighttime when my kids are in bed and I've like meditated or exercised, like it just intuitively comes to me. I'm never like, I need to post something. Like it's just, again, like from your soul, right? Like speaking from your soul. So the more that you play with it and the more that you practice it, the more you just kind of feel into what is right for you. And that's why human design is such an experiment. It's such a practice. And it's always going to be changing. Like as my life evolves, my business will be evolving. And at the point that I am now, I've had to, and like, I did it like immediately as soon as I was like, okay, like I'm not going to be able to expand anymore energetically or in my business if I don't hire help. So I have a VA, I have someone that does foundational human design readings on my team. And I'm also hiring on a manager. So it's just, and a coach, obviously. So I need support in my business because otherwise there's literally no way I would have been able to reach any other levels.
I was just going to say, like, so thank you for tapping on that. I was going to ask about like the support that you have. And because I think that is a big part of, and I don't know, is there other designs that you would say heavily rely on needing that support as well? I mean, I know as humans, like, I mean, gosh, like, you know, we all can use it, but is there any of the other ones that you would say also rely like heavily on this?
Yeah. Manifestors are not energetic beings either. So they don't have endless energy, and they're actually meant to like design, like craft things, and other people go do the work. So they're like the masterminds, the creatives behind it all. But they're not meant to actually fulfill and like do the work. So they would then call on generators or manifesting generators to take that and go do, because they are energy beings and they love to work as long as they're excited by it and lit up by it. Yeah.
So this would,
and then reflectors too, are like non-energy types. They have no of their own energy. So they are literally absorbing from other people all the time. So those are the 3 that definitely need support.
So this is fascinating then. In regards to each different design, is there something that you would say that each one should outsource first based on their design of something to get off their plate that would make their life easier if they're in like a beginning stage? That's a really good question. So for projectors, I would say like a VA, somebody that's going to handle like all of like the technical work, like the stuff that like, again, we're meant to be working with people to guide them. So anything that is like more of, the technical stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, I would definitely hire VA for projectors. For manifestors, it would be probably like manifesting generators to hire on to be doing more of like creation of stuff. So if they're like, I have this amazing idea of like a mastermind program, and like, here's my vision, here's what I want it to look like. So like maybe graphic designer who like goes and like creates all of the pieces that they need for it. Or, you know, somebody that is just, so I know I've worked with a manifestor who she actually has a clothing business. And so she designs all of the pieces, but then like the actual like shipping them out to people and handling the emails, that she has somebody that does that for her. Got you.
And then as far as like generators and manifesting generators, just any piece of their work that they're not excited by, because they have to be lit up, they have to be like a hell yeah to it, then they would outsource any of that. But that's really dependent on what's exciting to them and what's boring.
So cool. Like it could literally mean I absolutely hate grocery shopping, or I could hate cleaning my home, or those things totally light me up. I'm not outsourcing those things, right?
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah. Got you. Okay. So beautiful. So now, looking still a little bit at like my chart, there's like not self-theme. So you're not self-theme, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. This is like when you're not in your energy, this is what shows up for you. This is the energy. Okay.
Yeah. When you're out of alignment.
Okay. So mine is bitterness.
Yeah. Yes. We are the bitter Betties.
Do you have bitterness too in yours?
Yes. All projectors are bitter.
Oh my gosh. It's so true. And when I read this, I'm like, Oh, yes, 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 yes. I feel so seen, so heard, so understood, 100%. Oh my gosh. I don't even like, what do you, so is, how many, I don't even know what other like not self themes could look like. How do you manage this bitterness then and stepping back into alignment? It's probably just that recognition and knowing within yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge it's just like self-awareness. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so bitter about this. So let's say, I'm bitter that you're not like hitting a goal or something like that, right? You're like, oh, I have this like desire for my business to be in this place right now. And you're like, I'm so bitter that I'm not there right now. It's like, okay, well, like, let's look back. How were you in alignment with your energy and where were you out of alignment? So maybe you're bitter that your business didn't expand because you energetically can't give any more to it, right? And that's why it didn't happen. That's where the misalignment happened. And maybe it's now time to source out help, right? Like that's where we get to like dissect. Or maybe you're like bitter about a relationship and maybe there's like some bitterness between like you and your partner, and maybe you're just feeling very unheard or unseen, and that's causing the friction, the bitterness, and now you're being like really snippy or not talking to them, and it's because the miscommunication, or they're not actually valuing seeing you, they're not understanding that they need to see you and validate you. So yeah, it's like just the awareness of like where in my life or where in my business am I not honoring my design, which is then creating the bitterness. It's really nobody coming at you. Okay. It's all created from you being out of alignment.
That makes so much sense. Yes. Okay. So now there's a signature part. So this is something that I don't think I know a whole lot about. What does this signature part mean? How does one navigate with this?
Yeah. So this would be the opposite of being out of alignment. You're not self. This would be yourself. So this would be when you're in alignment, you feel success. And this could be felt in like any area. This could be in your business. This could be in your relationship. This could be in your parenting, your life, your finances, whatever. But when you are in full alignment, you're all of a sudden like, I just feel, that feeling of success where you just feel really proud of yourself. I would say would be the feeling of success.
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm just like, I feel like this whole time I'm going to be like, yes, yes, yes. But it's true because it's, there's totally bitterness if like I'm out of that alignment to being within my light and I'm overworking and I'm doing too many things, or I'm trying to, it's not so much now, but beforehand when I was out of alignment with even the reason and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And so you're overworking, trying to compensate, trying to find that validation, proving yourself. And then you're not really being this light. You're going out there, pushing something, trying to make it happen, trying to validate that thing inside, and you become bitter. And probably ultimately you're not receiving that success feeling, which is
exactly.
Okay. So this is making,
and then you become really repelling, like your energy, instead of like inviting people in, it becomes like this cold heart, like, I don't want to go near her,
Oh, totally.
Like really repelling. Yeah.
And I can definitely notice, like, if I can, there's so many times and like, I mean, not so many times, but I can definitely look back in my journey as an entrepreneur and I can think like whether it was in the fitness business, or I can think about in network marketing, or I can think about in coaching or a certain program or something that I've launched. And to think about the times where, again, like maybe I was just, I don't want to say like doing it from like not, I guess, yeah, like doing it from that bitter, I need to do this, or I should do this, or it's just having that lack of foundation of where I'm at now, of that knowing and that trust in myself and what I'm here to do. But there were definitely those moments where I'm going around in a circle here. I'm trying to get my footing with what I'm saying, but essentially I can point out the moments in my life and my business where there was people coming to me, booking consults, sending me DMs, messages, and they're like, there's no specific fucking reason why, right? It's like, it's coming out of thin air. There's not a post made all week. There's nothing out there saying like, this is what I'm offering. And then it's like, boom. And then there's been those moments in my life, in my journey, in coaching, network marketing, wherever it's been. And yeah, it's like you go for it, looking for maybe to feel the success, or I was going in it looking for something. And then it was absolutely like a repelling energy, nothing there. And and I don't know if this is a projector thing, but there's so much of the desire of like, okay, well, I should keep pushing. I should keep doing because I'm trying to be seen. I want to be heard. I want that success, right? I want that signature, that alignment feeling, but it always is like giving that opposite. And so I don't know if you probably have something that you do or what you suggest, but I know for me, what it's probably been is just that surrender and that trust and letting go and releasing, and then coming back to, what am I here to do? What is feeling out of alignment? Why am I, what has caused this? And those are some of the questions that kind of come up for me that have always allowed me to pull back into that space.
Yes. Yeah. That's perfect. That's like exactly it. And like, it happens. Like, this is the important thing to know too. Like you never master your design. Like it's always going to continue to happen. So even actually, I just talked about this recently where I went like 5 days and I had launched a program and I had literally nobody sign up for it. And like, that really hasn't happened to me. We're like 5 days straight of like nobody signing up for something. So I started freaking out. And actually it was because I re-navigated the way that I was marketing and started doing it like a generator, because I all of a sudden saw how crazy successful she was. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to take her tips and I'm going to apply it to what I do. And I'm just going to do it like that. Like really not thinking. And then all of a sudden I was like 5 days with like nothing, because I'm doing it like a generator. I am not marketing like a projector. Then I was like, whoa, let's snap out of this. And then I totally realigned my energy. And then literally within 5 days, I created 13.3K. Like it was just mind blowing. And it's just like that, those times where like, you have to misalign. You have to misalign to remember what alignment looks like and feels like for you. And it's like those swinging points. And it's just like, yeah, like I am a projector, and that like, I have to work out of that energy or else it doesn't work.
I love that you said, because I think we can get hard on ourselves when you learn a lesson or you've worked through something or you've quote unquote healed something, and then it comes up again and we can beat ourselves up and be like, fuck, like I thought I worked through this. I thought I understood it. I thought I knew it. And here I am once again. And so speaking to like, it's okay to come out of alignment, because it's when you're coming out of alignment that you actually are allowing yourself to go deeper into alignment. I actually, when you're saying that, I've used this analogy a few different times, because when I was in like my prep classes for birthing, it stuck so much with me. And it's like, I've carried it through with everything, is that when you're bringing, and I mean, gosh, I know it probably changes after the second and the third, but at least with the first one, right? Because you've never done this before and it's a new thing. Your body goes the 2-step back, it goes 2 back and then 1 forward, 2 back and 1 forward. And going back, it doesn't mean you're out of alignment. It means you're deepening the process. It means that you're birthing things in a more safe and sustainable process. And it's okay when things happen otherwise. Like there's always a fix. Everything can be mended and worked together and healed. But it's also safe and okay to kind of allow that 2 steps back to have that 1 forward, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. And and I think it's just like, it's the human experience. Like we're humans, right? So like, it's natural for that to happen. But it's just awareness, right? And it's just knowing when you just catch yourself and you're like, oh yeah, I'm not meant to work like that. Like, let's just readjust this. And like, it's energy is everything again. Like it's just instant where people can feel that energy shift.
Absolutely. I'm curious, because you mentioned, right, like, how do you navigate this then when you're a projector, and if you're working with, or you have other team members, like you have other things or people that, maybe, and I don't know if it's in the coaching realm or like your support in that way, if it was even like a strategist or somebody that you're working, if it's somebody else that's listening to this and they have other team members and people in their space, and you're a projector and you have like your way and like your way of doing that, how do you integrate and also filter out, so then that yes, you're getting support from these people, but it's also being done your way and you're honoring you and what you need?
Yeah, totally. That's such a good question. And obviously I work with Melanie and Layer, and she knows human design too. And I'm very adamant that like, I'm only doing it my way. And she's really amazing at working with my energy and knowing that. But if things come up where I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel right, or, I know that's not going to work for me, I like say that, I'm like, okay, what's another way we can do this? Or I like this idea, but like, let's readjust it. And again, it's like my awareness, like I know what works, I know what doesn't, I know what strategies are correct for a projector. So it's really like just like bending that and molding it into my own way. And then as far as like support, even like within my team, the people that are working with me have taken all of my trainings too, so they know everything about the way that I work human design. So everybody's just in alignment with design. And I really, at this point, could never work with anybody that wasn't. Like, that would just be like a no.
I love how you, I think that's so powerful. Like, I love that you have these ways and this deep knowing and recognition. I think what it comes down to is like power. Like you're taking power and responsibility over yourself and your journey and your process and knowing your design and who you are and feeling empowered to use your voice. I think that's the problem, is like, if you come into these containers, you're working people, and then you don't allow yourself to know what you need and what you want. And then maybe you're not using your voice to be able to speak up for that in those containers. And that's when maybe the issues can arise.
Absolutely. And to remember that like our world, so like society is 70% generator, manifesting generators. So like, we're not really going to go into a situation that is ideal for a projector, right? So we just actually have to like adjust our way of taking in a situation or being in an environment and make it, again, work for us. Like, we can't really expect, it's really taking the expectation off everybody else and really just owning it yourself and being like, okay, cool. I know that I'm going to go to a wedding and be around all of these people, and I really want to be there, and I'm going to have a lot of fun, and like, I'm going to go there and like do my thing and enjoy it. But I know the next day, like, I'm going to be MIA, I'm not going to want to be on social media. I need to restore my energy. Maybe I need somebody else to watch the kids for a while. Maybe I need an extra nap. It's just about like taking radical responsibility for your energy and how you are living it, and not expecting everybody else to bend for you.
I love that. It really is like working with it. It's when you know these things, you can work with it, and it doesn't have to feel like, I think that's where the struggle can come in. It's this idea and this expectation of it should look, and I've had to do healing around this too on many different levels of like, it should look like what a generator can do. It should look like showing up at that level, and that means success, and that equals the sales, and that's what equals people buying from them, is showing up in that way, posting that many times, creating that level of content, and those expectations that people are putting on themselves to equal whatever it is that they're desiring to have. But I think it really is coming down to, as you have this awareness of you, and if you can work with that, and like you said, you have a wedding, instead of booking something on the Sunday, or instead of, booking something on the Monday, allow yourself just to honor that, take the day off, fill your schedule up with things that light you up, versus feeling like, well, no, it's Monday or it's Sunday, I should be doing XYZ, I should be doing this thing in my business, I should be, I have this other thing coming out this week, so I should make sure I cross this off the list so I can get it done. And it really is being in your power. It's knowing what is your light. And I've definitely noticed, like, even from taking your program, when I implement those things and I honor that, I not only feel a shift, but like I feel a shift in the way that I live, and like my ease in life, and the freedom I feel, not just like that I'm experiencing, but I'm feeling within me. But I definitely can feel the shift if I don't. And what pieces definitely are bringing me resistance in my life when I'm forcing against the grain. If there's like, because again, your mom life, like there's other things that come into the picture, and sometimes those shoulds or that guilt or the expectation will take over for a moment until you can kind of realign. So I've definitely felt those resistance pieces if I don't honor that fully. So, okay, we keep going, which is beautiful, because all this has to come through.
Talking to you.
No, I love talking to you, and all of this needs to come through, and it's so beautiful. Something that I was always curious about, because it says that I have a split definition. And I know like I have a emotional solar plexus authority, and I'm a investigator martyr 1/3 profile. I have like this right angle cross of planning, incarnation cross, and I'm like, I know small thing. Like I think the most thing that I know about my authority is that I know like I'm an emotional authority. So like I know that I have highs and lows. I know that I kind of have to ride this wave. I know that I got to give myself about 24 like solid hours before I respond to certain like, whether it's an invitation, it's a big decision, a big choice, even like highly emotional situations or things. But other than that, I don't know a whole lot about what those other things mean.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, first of all, I'll go into your authority. So basically our authority, you guys, is like how we are meant to make decisions. And obviously we've been programmed, use your head, think it out, make a list, pros and cons, blah, blah, blah. But our body has an energy authority. So we actually like make our decisions from a place in our body, depending what your design is, depending on what your centers are. So for you, you're an emotional authority. And this is different because most of the other ones are very like instant. So for example, I'm a splenic authority. So it's very intuitive and it tells me in the moment. It tells me one time in the moment to do it. It feels scary. It's really quiet. But when I go for it and listen to it, it's the most correct thing that I could ever do. And I think that's like really part of like the freedom that I have. It's just like, I just trust this crazy intuitive knowing that makes no sense. And for you, it's actually the opposite. So you are on this like ride of emotions all the time. Like you are just in your genetics. You are meant to feel all of the feelings, like really high highs, really low lows, everywhere in between. And since you have that, you aren't clearly making decisions within your body, because if you're really excited about something in the moment, you're like, yeah, of course. But when you come down to think about it, you're like, okay, well, like, you know what, like this doesn't feel right for me, you know? Or the opposite, you could just be in a bad mood and this invitation comes in and you completely turn it down just because you're feeling low. When really, in actuality, if you wait, so we basically ride this wave until you're at a point zero where it's clear, calm, you don't really feel anything heightened, you don't feel anything lower, you're just kind of in this middle ground, and that's when it's safe to make your decision. And again, it's not overthinking things. It's not bringing things into your head. It's actually feeling into your body. Like, does this feel good? Does this feel right for me? And from there, then you're going to make your decision. And for some people, if they're like manifesting generators or generators, they also have their sacral defined. So then they would tap into their sacral and it would tell them, or like hell yes or hell no after the emotional wave. For you, you're going to likely more so talk it out because your throat center is defined. So you're going to actually use your emotional authority. You're going to ride the waves and then you're going to talk to someone about it, and like not a conversation. Like you're not going to like get somebody's input. You're just going to like literally verbally spill whatever's coming out of you. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, that's my answer. Got it.
Got you. Yes. That resonates. Yeah.
And then part of yours too, so there's these different like little gates that come out. So if you're looking at your chart, which you can get at mybodygraph.com, my favorite to use, you see these like little like roads almost that come out of the centers. And if your center is colored in, that's where like your power is lying, your consistent energy. And so for an emotional authority, you have one that's coming out of you, which is all based on like friendship and family. And when you are in a wave, what's going to work really well for you is having somebody like actually touch you. So like a physical connection. So if you're just like, you wake up and you're like in a mood, you don't know why. First of all, don't try to figure it out because there's no reason for your mood. That's just what you're feeling. So don't go deep into trying to figure it out. But if Derek's like, oh, I noticed something. And if he just comes over and like maybe gives you a hug or, holds your hand or something, it actually can move your wave much quicker back to center.
That resonates so much because literally anytime anything, like if I feel any kind of like those emotions, if I feel in a low or even if it's like a high and I'm like happy too and like things are totally fine. But especially in those low moments, like the number one thing I'll be like is if anybody asks, a hug. Like, I just want to hug. Like, that's all I want. Like, if you just hug me, I'll probably be okay so much faster. Yeah. And it's so interesting that you can say that and I can say, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. I completely understand. That's totally who I am. Like, what a beautiful, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's, we know, right? We innately know. It's just we like lose trust, because especially for an emotional authority, people would probably have always said to you, you know, like, you're too dramatic. Like you feel too much, like tone it down, like easy, you know, like it's all of those things, but like, you're just designed to be like that. So like the less we can suppress it, the more authentic we can be. And that's when the ease and flow comes in.
This, like, I'm trying to find the right words to like word it. But yes, me 100% my entire life, in every capacity. Yes, yes, yes. It's actually something that I'm currently like moving through right now, is standing in my voice and being met with, I'm too emotional. I shouldn't have feelings. I shouldn't share these things. I'm over, like, all just from speaking truth into something so small about just how I feel. And that has been my story, or my pattern, or the, I don't want to say label, but it's totally been the consensus of the world on me for a huge part of my life, especially the people closest to me. Yeah. And so that's definitely been this, this growth and this healing and this, could you hear that?
Little Louie.
That is a Louie far away from here, but my mic picks it up. It's so funny. Oh, she must be having fun. That's good. And I'll take that over like screams or something else, right? Cries. But that is 100% me to a T. Yes, yes, yes. And it's just very, it's comforting when it's, you know, to know like this is who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a very emotional person. You're supposed to feel all of the things. And there is nothing wrong in that. There's nothing, you know, bad about it. It is your power.
And now imagine, like, with our parenting, like our children, we get to raise them knowing who they are, right? Not who we expect them to be, or not who we're trying to make them to be. So Hendrix, he has an emotional authority. My other two are sacral. But now I know, like, right away, right before he can even like talk, I know he is going to just have these heightened emotions all the time. And now I know how I can support him in that journey of his life. And of course, there's going to be conditioning, because he's human and he has his own experience, but I can really just like do my part in making him feel as honored in who he is as possible, or all my kids, right? Like all of us that are understanding how to parent our children for who they are.
I have like chills with this, because I do feel like it is, it's a shift in our entire generation. Like this knowledge, this permission, this conversation that's even happening is completely shifting literally how our kids are being raised. It's shifting how they're going to raise and raise their children and parent their children. And maybe it won't, maybe they'll find a whole different way and they'll do something else. But for the most part, I mean, from what we know, right, we were conditioned up to a certain point, and what we're doing right now, and I don't know what your experience is with your family in this process, but it's definitely been shaking things up in mine. It definitely shakes up my family, in me healing myself and choosing different ways, in knowing that it's safe to be seen, it's safe to be heard, that manipulation and control tactics can't be used. Like really being able to honor a person is the highest form of love. And that's just such a shift that we're establishing within our children and within the generations to come. And it's fucking powerful.
It's so amazing. Actually, I just said this to Ben the other day, because I'm like, you know, how many people in our generation and even like just beyond are like, who are parenting and they're not tapped into this world, and not necessarily human design, just like, again, like the healing modality of deconditioning, where they're like, you know, my parents did it like this, and like, I turned out fine. And like, I'm obviously like not a doctor or anything, but I'm like, oh, really? Like, you know, I see as a projector that you should really decondition yourself on this, you know, or you have this, or why do we have so much anxiety and depression and, you know, substance abuse and all of the things? Because we've been so conditioned and we're just not aware of it, or some people aren't, right? So yeah, I think it's such a beautiful, powerful shift that we can be giving our children.
I completely agree. I think the only things that we kind of didn't touch a whole lot on, I think you talked a little bit on it. We were talking about defined and like defined centers and open centers. I'm trying to think of like even where to go with it. I think like, so I have defined throat, G center, heart center, and solar plexus.
Yes.
I think the first one that I was like, with actually throat kind of surprises me a little bit, but heart center, I'm like, yes, I have huge defined will. But then I have open head. Is it on Ajna?
Ajna, yeah.
Ajna. Okay. And sacral and spleen and then root.
Yeah.
Are any of these like super like common in like projectors, or is there like ways to work with? I'm sure that there's tons of ways to work with them. I'm trying to even think of like a good question. Like, can we just like open the conversation around like defined centers and open centers?
Yeah.
Maybe just like how to utilize them.
So your defined centers are where consistent energy is held in your body. So you want to be working out of those. So there can still be conditioning that takes place there, but it's much easier for you to tap into it and start to really utilize that power. So when I'm working with a client, we go over like what their power centers are, is what I call them, and we really start tapping into them. So utilizing them in their business and the way that they are marketing themselves so that it can come out as natural because it feels right when they tap into them and use them. And then your open or undefined centers would be the white ones when you're looking at your chart. And these are the areas where we're absorbing energy from other people. So it's inconsistent. We don't have our own of it. So again, we can like be with a friend. So I can be with like my manifesting generator friend and like feel all of the energy because I'm taking it from her sacral, but it's not mine to take with me after. So that's where I need to like cross the line and be like, okay, I can't like keep going. But this is where we hold a lot of conditioning. So when I work through with clients on deconditioning and doing what I call like the unsexy work, I will literally pull from each of their centers and I'll be like, okay, so for example, if they had, let's see what yours is. So if you have your root center, which is undefined. So this is like, you would be like really sensitive to other people's, like to stress, right? Or to like that adrenaline and like you feeling like if there's pressure on you or if there's stress, it's like, I got to get it done now and like release that energy. So we really like tap into like, okay, so like what in your business feels overwhelming, or when you're in a launch, are you just like rushing things to like get them out there because you feel all of this pressure, and who put pressure on you and what did this look like in your childhood, and like all of those things. And then we would tap into how to recognize it and how to work with that. And this is like where like a lot of like journaling kind of stuff comes up on, because it will just be really consistent themes in your undefined centers. So even like open head center would be like absorbing all of the things and like not knowing what direction to go with your own inspiration and, overthinking things. So it's, there's consistent themes in all of the centers that we would pull from, and then it would be your own experience within that.
That makes a lot more sense. I think yeah. Okay. I need to dive into these so much more.
I know there's like, so it's crazy, crazy deep. And like the biggest things, like if anyone's listening and they're just like diving in, or even they've been like, playing with it for a while, all you need to focus on is your energy type. So you being a projector, what that looks like, what that feels like, experimenting with it, your strategy, which is waiting for the invitation. So how is that showing up in your life? How are you using that in the correct ways? And again, they're not always going to be invitations that come in, will not always be correct for you. And then also your authority. So that really mastering and stepping into what your authority feels like, looks like, and practicing with it to understand when you made an aligned decision and how you used your authority within that. So those are like the base things that people want to fast forward through, but like literally you need that foundation down pat, or else the rest of it isn't going to fall into place.
Thank you for such a beautiful description that I think anybody can really take and apply for that, because that's like the key things. And I know that alone is so incredibly helpful. I'm kind of hovering over channels and gates, and I'm not sure what you can go into with this. because I know that there's a lot, but the more that, you kind of get to know some of the other pieces of you, I start to see more stuff come up about gates, and I'm fascinated by it, but that seems like a whole other hole to go in, because there's so much, right? Like I'm looking at 13, the fellowship of man, and 37, the family. And I'm like, what do these beautiful things mean?
Yeah. So all of these are like literally, again, just like energy that is flowing through you.
Okay.
That is defining you. So like there's black ones, there's red ones, there's the mix of them. So black is always your personality. So your conscious self. And then the red is your unconscious. So like your soul, how it was created before you were even a physical body, like on the earth.
Got it.
So each of them, depending how they are, some of them will be like direct channels from one center to the other. Some of them will only flow half, some will only flow a little bit. And depending what center it's coming from too, will depend on who they are. But basically it's like what like little pieces make up your energy too. So for example, 13 that you were talking about, it's the fellowship of man, the gate of the listener. So it's basically like you naturally listen to other people. You're really open to hearing their experiences. So this is a very projector trait. It's a gift. So you know more about what's around you, who's around you. And it's essential that the like memory, sorry, there's a little alarm going off here.
No, that's okay. Yeah, go get that. That's totally okay.
So yeah, it's basically like you feel, you understand, and you hear people really, really well. And you take that in as a memory. So it's a really like reflective process. So you reflect on what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling about other people. And then you tend to collect, like you hold on to it. And it can be like a value that is instilled within you, or you're able to like kind of bring outward into other people. So yeah, it's really like the gate of like listening, taking in, observing, reflecting, and then bringing outwardly of what you took from that.
Okay, this is making so much more sense, because I was hovering over some of like my red lines. Like I have the red one was enthusiasm, the gate of skills.
Yeah.
And then this one, so what does that mean as I'm looking at this, when you probably see the one on the left, the red one that kind of goes from one and then it kind of goes to the one in the middle, the G center, the define. Like how does that work? This
ends up making a direct channel, because you're going from like, it's connecting two centers. So it's connected from your throat to your G center. And this channel of awakening is about like how you actually understand yourself. And so the G center is your identity of yourself. And this is defined in you. So you have a really strong sense of who you are. And it's connected to your throat center, which is a really clear way of speaking, a lot of clarity, a lot of power. So basically what this does is it connects the two, and it allows you to be really unique with your authentic self, your expression, and take your identity within yourself and express it outwardly through your throat. So you're able to speak for yourself. You're able to be very clear about what you're desiring, what you're wanting. And basically your awakening is the more you tap into who you are and understand who you are and authentically let that person be, the more it will come out of your throat in a very natural, clear, concise way, which it sounds like is exactly what's kind of processing in your life right now, which is pretty cool.
It is like 100%. I'm actually like kind of in shock a little bit. Yeah. Like,
and all of these, like you said, like this has like been a process for you. So although we have all of these gates and channels like active in us, like when the energy is flowing through, it's not always used, or it's not always tapped into, it's not always trusted. So the more that we can understand our design, the more we can trust ourselves to continue in that direction, continue on that path, and to trust like what you're feeling inside that like needs to come out. It is needing to come out for a reason, right? Otherwise it's a block.
So with that said, does anything ever shift? Like, does anything ever shift in your design? Could you look in like a year or 2 years from now and it look different?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So part of what human design is astrology. So depending, so your base design, like what it looks like right here, right now, will never change. So you will always have these centers, these channels, all of that. That will continuously be you.
Okay.
But depending where like the planetary, like astrology stuff is going on, and like this isn't like my forte of this aspect of it, but that can change. So depending like what what we have, like what sign is what do you call it, like when it's like Taurus season or like whatever.
Okay, yes.
Like wherever that is in your chart will be more powerful and will be activated more. So it's not that your chart changes, but the power in your chart, depending on like the universal energy, something else could be activated in you, but not permanently, right? It's just like depending on what's going on universally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That makes complete sense. So now I feel like we've covered so much of this, like the gorgeousness of that anybody can really look at and say, I can look at now to some degree of like what this applies to with my own chart.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit at the beginning, and I just want to touch on it super briefly and just see, like, is there anything that comes up for you? And like, are there the things that you do notice, that are maybe like I don't want to say mistakes because I don't believe like we make mistakes, but things that maybe you notice specific designs doing that maybe are common,
like out of alignment?
Yeah. Like they're out of alignment and they're not really serving their business. And maybe the ways to kind of like shift that so then they really do utilize their design in those typical, like how we were talking about with Projector, right? Like waiting for that invitation. So waiting almost like I have to wait for an idea. I have to wait for somebody to tell me that they want me to create this program, and therefore they sit around at home for like so ever, and they're not creating anything because they're waiting for somebody else. Or I have to tell maybe I have to tell all of the people around me exactly what I'm doing before I can feel like I can do it. I'm just like, I'm not sure if there's
like misinterpretation.
Yeah. If there's some like that's the perfect way to say it.
Yeah. So as projectors, it would definitely be the invitation. So the miscommunication with what that means and what that looks like, we need to be seen, heard, and validated before any aligned invitation can come in. So don't be sitting there behind your computer screen, hoping for somebody to be like, you should do this, or do you want to do this business idea? Do you want to do this podcast? Like it can't happen until you put yourself out there. So don't hide.
Yes.
For a manifestor, it's like that they're here to initiate. They're here to initiate, but what can happen is that they initiate so hard in such a masculine energy. So I always suggest to manifestors, although you're here to initiate, you're here to make things happen, it's easy for you, you actually have to soften into your feminine. So you really have to step back instead of like, this is what you need to do, and this is how you're going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. Soften back into your feminine flow and start coming at that with a really different energy forward in the feminine rather than the masculine initiation. So you can initiate with a feminine flow. And then for generators, it would be right that they're here to work. So with that, I find a lot of generators can be completely burnt out. So they have something called their sacral, which is this endless energy. But so many come to me and they're like, yeah, but like I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. And that's because they're doing things that they no longer are lit up by. So maybe a year ago in their business, they loved this mastermind. And now they're still doing it, but they don't love it anymore. So it's like, you need to let go of all that dead weight, like all of that stuff you're carrying that actually isn't exciting for you anymore, but like you're just hanging on to it because it made you money or it worked, whatever. So really let go of like dead weight. And then for manifesting generators, they like are the people that kind of like fall into this like trap of feeling like they are imposters. So they're out there, they're like brightly, confidently talking about this stuff, but they're not getting people to sign up with them or to join them or whatever. So it's really like deconditioning about that imposter syndrome. And the response for both of those, they need to wait for this response rather than initiate their ideas. But like a lot of them get stuck in like, oh, I can only, I can't do anything in my business until I have a response. But like they're responding to things all day. So it'd be like those two parts the responding for manifesting generators to like really notice how often they are responding, and they're not waiting for an invitation. They're actually just responding constantly. And they'd be surprised how many responses they miss.
This is I think that this encompasses like everything in this episode, literally, that we could have gone into, like motherhood, yes. Like the way to like, navigate those, the tricky pieces of your design, and how to really just harness that and use it for your success and happiness and wealth and abundance and pleasure and a thriving and beautiful life where you're not overextending yourself, but you're still having everything that you want. I feel like we literally went into like every possible corner of this that we probably could have in the hour.
Yeah, we probably should have like a 3-hour episode.
Right. And I'm here for it anytime. I'm curious, is there any other, was there anything else coming through you that you felt that there was any other pieces of information or advice or tips or things that maybe we didn't hit or we missed that you wanted to leave everybody with?
You know what? I would just say that like once you dive into your design, really, really be patient with it and really practice it and don't rush it. Like a lot of people, like this is such a trend right now. A lot of people want to rush it, and like just know something about it and then like integrate, be like, I integrated, I embodied it. But like embodiment takes a long time and it's again, like an endless process. So just like, be patient and be kind with yourself. And this isn't something to rush, and just like have, I guess, integrity with it and really just play with it and let it see how it starts to shift your life before feeling like it's this profound, massive change. Like let it actually be that for you.
That is beautiful. As you were speaking, there was one last thing that kind of came up because I was thinking about me, like, okay, so if I was listening to this episode and I heard this for the first time and I'm really excited, and I want to get my hands wet a little bit, the first thing would probably go find your human design on mybodygraph.com. And then from there, do you suggest like a specific book? Do you suggest a specific site? Do you suggest working with you or a human design expert that they align with? What do you feel is like the next best step for somebody?
Yeah. So there's some basic books that they can get to where you're just kind of diving in a little bit deeper. There's so much on the internet, but again, it's very like perspective based. So it depends what way you want to take it. If you want, I would say like get a book would be your next thing. And then from there, like join my group, Human Aligned by Design on Facebook. I like literally give so much information. And then as you feel called, like there's a couple people that like are really into human design and coaching. So get your reading done. So get like a human design reading done. Libby on my team does them. There's other people too, whoever you feel connected to. And then from there, as you want to integrate it into your business, is to really be working with somebody to help you navigate that until you get to the point where you're like, okay, I get it. Like I get what I'm working with, and I can start to have I have the awareness now of re-navigating when I need to. And then, I mean, you might lifelong work with somebody that is in human design, and like, it just will expand you so much. But take your time, build off of it. I have a whole bunch of resources. If you go to my website, amyallchurch.com, I have a podcast, Aligned by Design, where you can just like get your fill of information. But just apply it to yourself, get a reading.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all that, Amy. Thank you for sharing so much of your brilliance, so much of your knowledge, so much of your love and guidance and support through this. I know that I felt so seen, so heard, so understood, and I'm sure that anyone else listening to this will also feel the same way. And hopefully, I'm going to link everything that you also just said, like your website. You can also send me any other things that you need, but I will link everything in the show notes, you guys. So go and find Amy, get in her energy. That's a perfect way to learn more, having your Facebook group. You have your podcast, you have programs, you have all of the masterminds, you have all of the beautiful things here. So, oh my gosh, I'll link everything for you guys.
Thank you. Autumn, I just like adore you. Thank you so much for having me. And literally, I just love you. So
I just love you. Oh, thank you so much.
Projector Love Fest.
And we both have long mermaidy hair, and I feel like it needs to be a thing.
Oh my gosh. And I love your branding. Like, I'm like, that is me to a T. Like, I just feel like we need to get together in real life, and we need to have a photo shoot, and we need to like be Barbie mermaids.
Done. It's done. Tell me when and where, and I'm there.
Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, thank you so much, Amy. We'll update you guys with our photo shoot magic, and just let us know how you love this episode, and we will talk so soon on the outside, Amy, and see you guys next episode.
Bye.